welcome back to the Healthy Commute. I'm Dr. Dan with Dr. Pascal. So today we want to, kind of talk about maybe a fun little topic.
Sure.
We a lot of times either my kids have asked me, patients have asked me. I'm sure the same to you. But imagine that, if you weren't a chiropractor, what would you be doing right now?
Yeah, well, I think with the way things are going right now, I could probably get a job in pandemic planning. But all joking aside, actually, there was a few things that I had considered before becoming a chiropractor. And one of the first ones I considered was being a fishing guide or working in fisheries biology because I loved being outdoors and fishing so much. But sitting in a boat all day started to kill me. So, because as you know, we talk about with our patients all the time, sitting is terrible, and sitting in a boat to boot without any proper ergonomic support gets to your back after 40 hours a week. So.
Yes. Now, just that to say, you still love fishing.
Absolutely, and I still go fishing for myself with family and friends as a hobby.
Yeah.
But as a job professionally, things that you consider when you're young, like I love to do this. Maybe I could do this for a living, right?
So when did you kind of start getting into fishing?
When I was very, very young, when I was like 8 years old, my uncle had taken me fishing up in the Nopaming Park in Manitoba, and we caught a boatload of fish over a weekend out of a canoe, and I thought it was the greatest thing, and I've been hooked since then. So that was 31 years ago.
And so so going through school, so that was always kind of a thought for you that you had in terms of like, okay, this is something I'd like to do or do it, like on a full-time basis?
Well, there's a fantastic fishing lodge in Manitoba called Aikens Lake, which are owned or partially owned and run by some Franco-Manitobans.
Okay.
And so if you've never been, quick shout out to them. and for anybody looking for something to do this summer, it's a great place. It's a flying fishing lodge. It's a 5-star resort. And I was lucky enough to get a job there when I was 19 or so. So
okay.
In my summer gig between university summers, a little plane drops you off there, and you work at this beautiful remote paradise where the water is pristine and the fish basically jump into your boat. And so I did that for a number of years, and actually it was quite enjoyable. So those first few years of doing that, I was like, wow, this is a pretty cool gig. I wonder if I could do this somehow, lifelong or professionally and make a living at it. But
So how did that change? What kind of happened or thoughts?
I think it's one of those things that the longer I started doing it for other people, I lost the joy in it.
Okay.
So after a while, I wasn't fishing for myself. It was always fishing for other people, right? And so, it got to be a bit old. I lost the joy of fishing after a while when you were doing it, honestly, probably 70 hours, 80 hours a week,
okay.
because it's 7 days a week. There are no days off. You're fishing 10 hours a day. So after a while, you kind of start just wanting to go fish by yourself and not fish for or fish with other people. And that was I think one of the key elements. And then also knowing that, it's a short season. You're only working 4 months of the year. It's not, and some people do it. I know there's like guiding services who guide people to do fishing trips on the Red River and so on and so forth. And, other people probably guide here a few months of the year and then take off and guide in Mexico or guide down south. So it was a possibility, but I just realized it might not be the best possibility for me, and probably largely based on the fact that I just got antsy sitting in the boat. I couldn't do it. I need to move. I need to move.
So what happened after that? So you kind of, how did you get from wanting to fish, as a career to being a chiropractor? Was that a one leap?
No,
did you take a few other, little side?
Well, health and wellness was always my first and foremost.
Okay.
Even so remember, I was going to school, and in the interim I was being a fishing guide, but
okay.
What I wanted to do while going to university in that undergrad was do something in the field of health and wellness. And so that was one, my first goal was to be a chiropractor, but then for a while it kind of got sidetracked. I also considered opening, like after I realized, okay, I'm not going to be a fishing guide because, I was fishing in the summer between university years, and that kind of lured me away from my original goal of doing health and wellness. And towards, the end of my undergrad degree, I realized, no, I'm going to stick to health and wellness, and I considered opening a CrossFit gym. Running a business, having people come,
awesome.
Helping them get healthy, because I wanted to help people get healthy. And at some point, I think I was just scared or being lazy. I didn't want to go back to school and sit, 60 hours a week for the next 4 years to become a chiropractor. So part of not wanting to go to school, honestly, is the fact that I hate sitting so much that I didn't want to go to school because I didn't want to have to sit in a chair.
Okay.
That actually like hindered me away. So I'm like, well, maybe I could open a CrossFit gym, help people in health and wellness, and not actually have to go back to school and be a chiropractor,
Right.
and still achieve the goal of helping people become a better version of themselves, have better optimal health, and so on.
So
and
then
forth.
take me down that road. So same thing. So you're progressing down that path. You've always been, passionate about, working out, CrossFit especially. So what kind of made you say, okay, now I want to go to school?
Well, so then the idea with the CrossFit gym, I mean, just from a business standpoint of view, you can get by in a CrossFit gym,
Yeah.
but the numbers, like when you really looked at it from a business standpoint of view with business consultants, right? It was very easy to get in and open up a CrossFit gym. So the barrier to entry for that business was very low.
Yeah.
So in other words, this was back in the inception of CrossFit too, like, potentially being one of those very first few people. Like when I considered opening a CrossFit gym, there was only one other one in Winnipeg at that time.
Right.
And so, but the barrier to entry, you do a $500 course over the weekend, you pay $1,000 and boom, you're running a business. And so, I kind of saw that with the market, there's maybe, 10-15% of people using these gyms, and there wasn't necessarily a very large market yet. And then because the barrier to entry was very low, I was concerned with the ability of other people to just easily saturate the market. And so I was concerned that it might not be the best business model to run now and for the next 20, 30 years.
Right.
I didn't see potentially a good operating business for 20, 30 years to come.
Okay.
And then I also thought, well, realistically, okay, if I go into chiropractic, nothing stops me from still coaching on the side, which I did for a long time. So, becoming a chiropractor gave me way more opportunity to help people achieve their health goals while still having the opportunity, and I've
Right.
still done other qualifications and classes and stuff to be, a CrossFit instructor or, fitness instructor. And so I still have a good amount of knowledge. I still help people do that stuff, but I can do it from the chiropractic office instead of running a CrossFit gym. So.
Right. And then I think there's a few little tangents too, because you were from fishing to CrossFit, but weren't you also a roof? You're into roofing.
I did some roofing too, yeah, for some.
Was that ever a kind of a thought of, okay, I want to open my own, let's say,
No.
a roofing or construction company?
I mean,
things like that?
I helped run a construction company with a colleague or a friend for a
Yeah.
while too, as a
Yeah.
as a gig in between like
Yeah.
university years and stuff, and to earn some money, because it was same thing. It was good. It was good money, but no, I don't think I ever wanted to do that. Like
Okay.
no way. It was just too hard of work, and I think the risk of injury was high. Falling off a roof, I could just
Yeah.
see yourself tumbling off the roof, going, nah, I don't think I should be doing this. So that was just a gig to make some money, because the pay was great.
And-
Too, as a young man, to be able to earn other sources of income. You do that kind of labor that some people don't want to do.
Yeah.
It was great money. So as a young man, it was fun to do, to help put money away to, move towards getting that secondary education or post-secondary education.
So you're doing, CrossFit. You said, okay, now I'm going to go back to school. Was that
Yeah.
a scary decision to say, you know what, this is what I'm going to commit to. This is what I want to do.
For sure, I think it is a big decision. You pack up your life here and you're moving, what is it,
Yeah.
2,600 kilometers south to
Yeah.
the south of,
Yeah.
down to Georgia,
Yeah.
where, there's so many unknowns, and as you know, I mean, the tuition is astronomical. So
Yeah.
it's also a big barrier, I guess, psychologically, to say, okay, I'm going to stop everything I'm doing in my life right now. I'm moving, almost 3,000 kilometers away, committing 4 years, the equivalent of a mortgage of a small house to
Yeah.
get this next level of education. So yeah, it was scary, but I was passionate enough about it, and I knew I loved it enough that there was
Yeah.
going to be no problems, and that I could get out and be happy and succeed and be happy with my choices,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So the barrier was there a little bit, but once I made the decision, no problem. I was all in.
Right.
Yeah.
Nice.
So then here we are today.
Here
So
we are
yeah,
today.
so I kind of like, zigzagged. I wasn't a direct line, and most of it was obviously wanting people to be healthy, helping
Yeah.
people in health was always
Yeah.
my number one.
Yeah.
But the biggest barriers for me always was I never wanted to sit.
Right.
Right, so that's why I
wanted
didn't
to
become a
move.
fishing guide. Right,
Yeah.
I didn't want to go to school because I needed to move, and so and I think that's part of what makes me interested in physical exercise. Is I am antsy. I love to move. I love to exercise, and my brain is happy the more I move. And so being a chiropractor is great because
Yeah.
we move
We're
all
always
day
moving.
long, right?
Yeah.
And then I get to get adjusted once a week
Of
too,
course,
which is great.
that's
so.
a bonus.
Yeah. How about yourself, Dr. D? What was your first desire in terms of career choice?
Well, I think the reason I think this topic is so top of mind for me right now is my oldest son is now in grade 11.
Yeah.
And one of the things that which I don't like, is they're already all these kids are scared of the decision that they think that they have to make right away in terms of what they're going to do for the rest of their lives. So like, if most of them are like me, and my son was like me, where, you know, like you're basically given, you know, a few options, which is, okay, well, you're good at math. So I was, you know, always good at math, and the least favorite things I did at school was write essays. I tried to avoid essays as much as possible. So math, sciences, I loved, and I could do that all day. So then the guidance counselor basically said, well, you're good at math, so you should be an accountant. So I was like, okay, you know, that sounds like fun, doing math all day. And looking back, just like you, like I sometimes cringe at the thought of me needing to sit all day long, and I know that I would not have lasted very long, because same thing, I cannot stay in one spot for too long.
Yeah.
So that kind of led me down that kind of accountant path. But for me, a passion was always like helping people in some way, or teaching something. My mom was a teacher, my dad was a social worker, and I think that instilled in me just that, you know, like trying to find or fill the need or help someone. And that was always something in the back of my mind in terms of, how am I going to use this? And so teaching was I liked, but I never saw myself, let's say, in front of a class. It was more kind of a one-on-one kind of thing that I enjoyed, let's say, doing, whether it was helping, you know, friends with their physics or math or chemistry homework. That was something. And so as I was going through school, I got into an accident, and one of my best friend's dad was a chiropractor. So after the accident, I started to see him, and I loved the effect that those adjustments had on me, how how I was recovering, how I was feeling. And I just saw, you know, basically the interactions, the day-to-day of him, you know, basically going from patient to patient and helping them achieve their health and wellness goals. And I just thought that was just absolutely amazing. And so that's when I kind of started to look into it. But I was still scared to do it, because I knew that accounting was more, let's say, you know, it was a simple path for me. Like I could see, I could stay in the same city. For sure. I could go to university, I could graduate, get a job, and just kind of, that was the simple path. No big risks. No risk. And for me at the time, that was very, very appealing. Yeah. So I started university with the understanding of, hey, I'm doing math. I'm going down that road. I took a bunch of stats courses and all that kind of stuff. And then after my second year in university, I can't do this anymore. I can't just keep doing stats and math all day. I was like, I'm good at it, but I can't see myself doing this full time.
Was it the sitting?
The sitting, the constant, there's not a much change from day to day. And I said I just couldn't do it, and I was still getting adjusted. And then the chiropractor said, you know, well, why don't you just become a chiropractor? Like, it's, you know, you're already in school, you just have a little bit of changes, and then you could go off to school. And I was like, you know what, forget it. And I still remember that was just a huge like stress to kind of actually make that decision. But the great thing about being young is you don't necessarily see everything, you know, all at once. You're just like, oh, great. Let's do it. Let's jump in. Yes. And now as an adult, you know, if I would be thinking about, okay, this is the amount of debt I'm going to get into, this is the risk I'm willing to take. I don't know if I would do it, if I would have done it again. But as a kid, I was like, yeah, sounds good. Let's do it. Sounds like fun. So just like you, I packed up and finished. I had to kind of take another year of university to kind of get all my the courses that I needed, and then I drove down, like you said, 2,600 kilometers down to Atlanta, Georgia, to start school. And I'm so happy that I did, for the fact of now, like every day, is to me is I'm just so fortunate to be able to help people, get to where they want to be. Like I always think that's the biggest, crime is someone sitting at home, not able to do what they want to do because of a pain, because of something that's going on with their health and wellness. And a lot of times it's simple things that they could do to get them where they need to go. So that's something I just find myself so fortunate to be able to do every day.
and it's a positive environment, right? I think that's the funnest thing is like, you know, of course, like any other thing, there's going to be hard days when certain things can happen, but the reality is like, it's a pretty great gig. Like we come here every day, we have fun, we laugh, the whole team laughs constantly all day long, you know. Patients sometimes come in with heavy hearts because things are going on and they leave with high fives and smiles, right? It's a great environment to work in, and it is fun. I agree to experience that and be a part of that health journey for patients. It's awesome. Yeah, it is a great gig.
So yeah, I'm happy to where I ended up, but the only reason I ended up here is because just like you, I think we took you know kind of sideward bands in here, and that's what I tell my kids and I tell other patients that are asking about where they are in school, and I say, you know, the worst case scenario is you follow a path and you change the path. Like it's okay.
Was it Brené Brown in one of her like talks? I can't remember talks or podcasts where she said it's more important not to know what you want to do, but to know what you don't want to do. Right. And so if you go down that route in school like you did, 2 years of accounting, well, wonderful. You did that, and it helped you understand what you did not want to do, right? And the same thing for me, like sitting all day helped me understand that no matter what, I need a profession. I need something where I can't sit or I don't want to be motionless, right? And so I think you're right for kids. Like there is no right or wrong answer right now. Just pick something, do it, and learn it. And if you get a little bit of education along the way, you know, and even if it's something you don't like 2 years of
education
of high level
never lost.
No way.
It's never lost.
So you learn something, and anything that you learn in those 2 years, even if you change career path, that 2 years of education in a different field is still going to make you a better professional in the other field that you're going to. So hopefully that helped you understand maybe a little bit more about, you know, who we are and how we ended up here. But I don't know, any other so in closing question, so what are the fields that your son is looking into choosing?
So he's interested in engineering, design, architecture, things like that. And so right now, all we're recommended is just keep exploring. And you know, whether it's taking jobs, you know, kind of part-time jobs or talking to different people, but again, like it's just about what's the next step. Just do that next step, and then let's say in 2 or 3 years you change. It's all going to be okay.
So he's grade 12 right now.
Grade 11 right now, going in, but he had to choose his classes for grade 12 already.
Based on what you want to do. Exactly, at 16 or 17 years old. That's not
so funny. Oh boy!
Awesome.
Like what we could do now with all the knowledge we have now, right?
Exactly. Hindsight's always 20/20.
Exactly. So again, hopefully you enjoyed that little discussion. And again, if you have any questions or any concerns that we could personally help you with, don't hesitate to give us a call, 204-474-1159, or reach us by email, info@lindenwoodschiropractic.com. So on that note, have a great rest of your healthy commute.